Welcome, everybody, to the 8th edition of That's Some Crazy Shit with Kelly and James. I am Kelly, and as always, my co-host is James.
What's up, my sister?
You know what, James? I had a really good week. I know that they say that we live in some crazy times and all that good stuff, but I had a really good week, and I will tell you why.
Right on.
I released my second book. Wait for it. It's not really a novel. It's more like a novella because it's like maybe 160 pages, so it's pretty short. But it is released and now available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, and I'm really excited. So yeah, it's been a really good week.
That's cool.
Yep. Thank you. So we are here. I am excited. We are going to be doing werewolves and magic rituals. That's our topic for today for our Halloween episode, in the spirit of Halloween. And this will be the last Halloween theme kind of that we have. And then we're going into November, which is going to be cool, James, because we have guests for the majority of November. So that's going to be really cool.
Very cool guests, too.
Yes, very cool guests. So as always, James, my friend, tell the people, if you if this is your first time listening to us, thank you and welcome. If you've been with us the entire time, again, thank you for sticking in there with us. James, for those of you who are new, and we'll do this all the time, kind of tell everybody, kind of what we hope to achieve, why we are doing this podcast.
Right on, my sister. Okay, so why behind our podcast is basically we discuss topics of various topics that aren't your normal everyday, talk at the water cooler type of topics. So we're talking about paranormal, metaphysical, theoretical, any of these things, okay? And we also want to provide a platform for people who have had any kind of paranormal experience or who have any kind of special paranormal gifts, a platform where they can come and they can share their stories and not feel like they're going to be judged or ridiculed or anything like that. And just to clarify, when we say, that's some crazy shit, we're not saying that these people are crazy. We're not saying that your story is crazy in that it's insane. We're saying it's crazy because it's so unbelievable that these things are happening to people and yet people still don't believe them. That's the crazy thing.
Yeah, it's crazy shit. And just as a side note, you know what, James, crazy shit doesn't just have to be paranormal, although a lot of crazy shit is, but like, for example, one of our guests next month is going to be somebody who does acupuncture. And acupuncture is some crazy shit when you think about it. So, right. There's a bunch of stuff in the world that I don't think that we necessarily understand. And so it's nice to kind of talk about it and shed a little light on it.
Right.
We are not experts by no means. We never claim to be. But we do want to bring you either like a guest or some written theory, some written information, along with our opinion. We keep the discussion open. We try to keep it on the positive side and just have an open dialogue. We want to be able to interact with you, the podcasting listening audience. And so there's different ways that you can reach us. We have an email address. So, if you want to be a part of the show, email's a great way to reach out to us. The email is thatsomecrazyshitpodcast@gmail.com, all one word. We're also on Twitter at thatsomecrazyshit. We're also on Instagram at that's_somecrazyshit. And then we're also on Facebook, and that one is K and J's Podcast. And believe it or not, we're also on YouTube. And that's some crazy shit. We also have a YouTube channel as well.
That's some crazy shit. We're on YouTube right there.
Yeah, that is some crazy shit. So, with all the social media that we're on, go out, like us, tag us, tell your friends about us. We appreciate you listening because you know what? There are a lot of podcasts out there. You can listen to whoever you want to.
Right.
So just the fact that you've chosen to listen to us, I am honored.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Very much so. So for November, like we were saying, we're going to have guests. So James, tell us who our first guest is coming up next week.
Okay, so without revealing too much, teaser, we're going to be talking to a psychic medium. Okay, and this psychic medium, his name is Dave, and I asked him to be a guest because Kelly and I have both been to him to have readings, and these readings were so incredibly accurate, it was scary. Now,
it was some crazy shit.
It was crazy. And now I don't know how many of our listeners know, Kelly and I have known each other literally since kindergarten. I mean, we've grown up together. And when we went to go see this Dave, the psychic medium, he was telling me things about Kelly's life that I don't remember happening, but Kelly was like, yeah. And then he was telling me things that I remember happening when we were young. And then when I went to go see him, he described my mom to a T, describing her, and another friend was there, and my friend was like, that's your mom. And then he told me a family nickname for an uncle that no one else outside the family knew, and he knew. And there's other things that could go on, but I mean, this guy is incredible. So you want to make sure you listen to the next episode. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah, he's going to be on for the full hour, and I'm excited. And then we also have somebody who does acupuncture. My acupuncturist, actually, Chris, is coming on. I'm such a believer and an advocate of acupuncture. It's some crazy shit to me.
Yeah.
The things that you can remedy with acupuncture. And if you've never tried it or you're thinking that it's a bunch of hooey, you are wrong. So you got to listen. And then Rue's coming back. She sees spirits and ghosts. She was on before earlier this month. She's coming back. And so excited for November. And then our last episode of November, get ready because I'm excited. We are going to do a full hour of reptilians.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
She's been bugging.
I have been waiting for this. I have been asking for this. We are going to do reptilians at the end of November. That will be our last podcast for the season. Then we're going to take December off and we'll be back in January with season 2. So, I am excited, but with no further ado, we are going to jump right into today's show, which is Werewolves and Magic Rituals. And James is going to bring us cryptid creatures. Which is always brought to you by Chef Bella B LLC, offering personal and private chef services. She also has spices and sauces available on her website. Her website is www.chefbellabkitchen.com. You can also get her on Instagram at Chef Bella B. And with no further ado, I will stop talking. And James, it was all you. Let's get on with cryptid creatures.
All right, thank you, Kelly. So we talked about werewolves and things, or vampires and things like that in the past. And I wanted to say right now, I've noticed a trend. Whenever I look into some of these things and do a little bit of research, it always comes back to the Anunnaki, which was maybe the original civilization, and their writings of the Tales of Gilgamesh. And we talked about the Tales of Gilgamesh. That's where they first mentioned witches, they first mentioned ghosts, and there's also werewolves and vampires. Now, I think what's going to happen is, as we go down further into our seasons, just the sheer antiquity of that writing, things are always going to fall back to that far. Okay? So in doing research, once again, vampires and werewolves, they all come from, there's stories of them in the Tales of Gilgamesh.
So wait, James, so stop right there, because that's really interesting. So for people who really don't know, kind of briefly tell us what the Anunnaki is, and then tell us what the Tales of Gilgamesh are.
Okay, so the Anunnaki were the creator of mankind. Okay, they came down and they supposedly they needed to mine for gold in order to restore the atmosphere of their planet. Once they got here, they decided working was too hard. So then they created man. Okay? So supposedly man is the creation of the Anunnaki, and then they go into the Sumerians, who they wrote the Tales of Gilgamesh. Okay. So the Anunnaki were supposedly extraterrestrial. And it's interesting, I don't want to get too far from werewolves, but when you look into their culture and their art, there are things that they talk about, how they made man. And you see some of their art, and a lot of it, you can see kind of the DNA helix in it. So
yeah, you know what, James, you're right. The Anunnaki, we could do a whole episode on the Anunnaki.
Easy.
And matter of fact, we should do it in season 2, because I can see where you're going. You got to stop, dude.
Right.
Stick with werewolves.
Right. You told me. Okay, so in the story of Gilgamesh, there's a story of a race of people who were half wolf, half man, hence the werewolf. Okay, that's the Sumerian Anunnaki Tales of Gilgamesh. Then a little further down, you come into Greek mythology. Okay, and in Greek mythology, there's the story of a king's son. The king's name was Lycos, hence Lycan.
Okay.
So his son cooks a dinner for Zeus, who is the head of the gods, not someone to be trifled with. Well, he decides to cook a dinner of children.
So he cooked children for Zeus. Okay.
And, you can see it didn't go over well. Zeus was not happy. So then he curses the family, where they would turn into wolves. Okay, so that's one Greek myth. Okay, there's another one where a father and son are out in the woods and they find these pelts, these wolf pelts, where once they put them on, they had the ability to turn into wolves. And then they went on a killing spree. The locals found them in their wolf form, killed them, and then once they were killed, they reverted back into their human form with the wolf pelt on it.
So maybe that's where we get the werewolf turns back to a human once they've been killed.
Exactly. That was what I thought, because that was the earliest form of that.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, so then those are the two origin stories, I guess you might want to call them, that I found.
So werewolves, to become a werewolf was a curse.
Yes, but you did curses, so I'm not sure. There's also spells and things and herbs they have, and rituals that you can perform if you want to turn yourself into a werewolf. So would you be cursing yourself?
Well, I'm saying that as far as like the origins, you said that the lichen, or I guess their name
Yes.
wasn't lichen, and the other person were cursed and turned into wolves.
Right, but you can also do it on yourself. You can perform rituals so you would give yourself the power to turn into a werewolf.
So maybe to some it's a curse and to some it's not.
Right. So, and then and that kind of segues into ways that you can become a werewolf. There's several ways that this can happen. One, we just talked about, you can perform a spell or rituals to give yourself the power. You can perform a spell or ritual to curse someone else. So I could do this and curse you into becoming a werewolf. You can be bitten by a werewolf.
So, okay, so let me ask you this. If you are bitten by a werewolf, and you know, movies will tell us this, because you know me, everything can relate back to a movie. But how does the werewolf decide to either bite you or kill you, right? I mean, does the werewolf make that decision? You know what I'm saying? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Well, yeah, I do, and I'm not sure if this will answer your question, but I think what the werewolf is a predator. Okay, so they're going to hunt, and maybe in the process of hunting, if something were to maybe be wounded and escape, he would then be cursed with a werewolf curse, or whatever you call it. I don't know if the question keeps coming up if werewolves kill, like I think in malice, or they kill for enjoyment, and I don't really think they do. They are predators, and I think in that role they do kill.
So, okay, it's like this. A vampire will make other vampires knowingly and willingly make other vampires.
Yes.
Does a werewolf knowingly and willingly make other werewolves? Or are they just a predator, and those who are bitten by a werewolf just are the ones that, you know, happen to escape, right? But a werewolf is not like a vampire where they knowingly and willingly make other werewolves.
I don't believe so. Nothing in the research that I've done suggests that they do seek out to create other werewolves. But yes, I do think they are creating them if, like I said, if one escapes or something. Whereas a vampire has the choice. I can turn you into a vampire, or I can kill you. I think that there's a distinction. I don't think a werewolf has the choice. From the research I did. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, I would just, well, it's just an interesting question because you had said that werewolves are predators, and I think that, every, obviously, well, and I guess you'll get into like the textbook Hollywood werewolf, but if, what you're saying is that when they turn into these werewolves, that they are instinctually now wolves, and wolves are predators.
Right. They're at that point, they're more animal than human.
Than man.
Right.
Than human. Okay. Right.
Okay. And then, so you're talking about the Hollywood werewolf. In Hollywood, werewolves and vampires are classic enemies.
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
Okay. But in the research I did, there's no evidence to suggest that. Or I know evidence is one of those words, when we're talking about the paranormal. But in the stories I looked at, there's nothing to say they were quote unquote enemies. They are competing predators, though. So picture a lion and a hyena, not quote unquote enemies. I'm sure they're out hunting the same things, and I'm sure they're going to scavenge from each other. But I don't think they're as out seeking each other in order to fight and kill them. But they are predators, they're predators, and so they're competitors. They're preying on.
But you're saying that there's no connection that you could find in your research
No.
that they are like they are in the movies.
Right.
I would
That's
say they
all.
are foes or against one another or whatever the deal would be. Gotcha. Okay.
Alrighty. And then, as far as you see all these fantastic powers that these creatures have, werewolves have, there are some that are attributed to them.
So wait, tell me some of fantastic powers that werewolves are known to have.
Okay, so everyone knows, obviously they can shapeshift.
Right.
Um,
But they can't. Can they shapeshift at will, or is it only during the full moon?
no.
Or is that a Hollywood thing as well?
Yeah, they cannot shapeshift at will. It is tied to the moon.
Okay.
Right. So then they have super strength, super agility. Their senses are heightened. So sight, smell, hearing, all those are super heightened. Okay. These things I did not know. They say immortality is one. And that one kind of threw me off. The story behind this is apparently what's turning them into a werewolf is also protecting them from diseases and things like that. So they're not going to die from diseases, and it's a regenerative thing. Now this I did not know. So that's how they can be immortal. But the time that you become a werewolf, are you that age forever? I would assume. I didn't see any stories that are saying. The one I'm pointing to or talking about specifically is there's one story of a werewolf who survived for over 800 years. And he was I don't know if I should say he survived. He was in a state of hibernation in captivity for 800 years.
Captivity where?
Okay, so let me go back real quick. This is from the medieval, so from 1400 to 1700. And this story comes out of, where do you think?
The Middle Ages.
Location?
Romania.
Oh, good guess. France.
Oh, okay, France.
And France has all these weird stories about werewolves.
It is.
So this was one I found, and but it's one of those things. He's held in captivity in a monastery, and the monks are supposed to be watching over and protecting everyone else from him. But there's no. How can I say this? I don't want to say there's no collaborating literature, but it does. It's too. I mean, it's even too vague. Really, I shouldn't even have brought it up. But I just thought I'd bring it up since it was in there. But that was the only thing I could really find about them.
So
being
are
immortal.
you telling me that for 800 years, monks kept this guy in captivity that was a werewolf? And then what happened after year 801?
Well, see, that's the thing. It doesn't say if the body disappeared or what happened. That's why I'm saying it's one of those stories I just thought I'd put out there, but there's really no other collaborating stories. Or
maybe he walked away. Maybe he somehow got out.
All right, so I'm trying to scan through this real quick. Some of the other powers that they have, which I did not know, were the ability to wall crawl.
Up a wall?
Yes.
Okay.
And I thought that would be more vampire-y. But they could do that. And then we talked about how silver affected. Now, I didn't know silver affected vampires until we did the vampire thing. Well, apparently there's a connection where silver affects werewolves.
Right, with Silver Bullet, that's a classic.
Right. And so going through the research, that seems to have been a Hollywood popularized that. The story is that in France, there was this werewolf that had killed, I think it was 80 men, women, and children. And a hunter, a well-known hunter in the area, decided he was going to bring in this wolf. They didn't know it was a werewolf at the time or whatever. And he went out and hunted it the first time, found it, wounded it, and then he decided he needed to have silver. So then he made silver shot. And then the next encounter with this wolf, he shoots it and kills it with this silver shot. So the original story was from, this was 1637. And so, but then Hollywood popularized it.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then some of the other ways you can kill werewolves is decapitation.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And fire. And that's about it, really, because whatever has turned them into a werewolf, they have powers that'll keep them from getting ill and drowning, I would assume, things like that.
So, are there any accounts of werewolves today or werewolves in the 20th? Well, we're in the 21st century now, but werewolves in the last century or today?
Okay, so you bring that up, and in doing research, I've come across a thing they call the dog man. And these sightings, they sound to me like they're werewolves. But people aren't seeing them transform. They're seeing them in this wolf shape. And those are called dogmen. And they're having sightings of those in Minnesota, Oklahoma. I'm trying to think of some of the other states in the central part of the country there. And
they've been having these sightings within the United States.
Yes, and they're happening. Our listeners can even Google it. When was the last dogman sighting? And it'll pull up something, I bet, within the last week.
Really?
Yeah. So there's still things. Now, I don't know. Like I say, I don't know if these are werewolves because no one's seeing them transform. But I would assume, there has to be something in there. I don't know if there just be wolves. Okay, I don't know. That's why it's crazy shit.
Yeah, that would definitely classify as crazy shit, James.
And then some other research has showed me that there are a few written reports of people who knew they were going to transform, and so they would take the steps of chaining themselves up in a locked room until after the transformation. So
Hollywood made that popular too.
That could be. I don't know. I have never, in my research, I haven't found a story that collaborates that. So it could be. So that I thought that was interesting. I mean, that really. What would you do, Kelly, if you knew? Well, we were in a full moon now. What would you do if you knew there was a full moon and you were going to transform and maybe hurt someone or kill someone?
But I guess my question is how do I know this, right? If when I transform, do I know that I'm a werewolf?
I believe that they do.
Do I remember? Do I remember what I've done?
I don't know if you would remember, but I'm sure you would come home and, you'd be a hot mess, from running around killing people. But I would think you would know something was up. Yeah. Maybe they have dreams. I had a dream I chewed the head off someone, and you really did.
I don't know, James. I think I don't know. Again, I need more information to determine, because maybe the werewolf in me just needs to go off and do that for that once a month. If not, then I'm gonna have some issues. Gotta let it go because I'm the werewolf, so I gotta go out there and release it. And maybe I'll just stick to like rabbits and stuff, not so much people.
Well, that's funny you say rabbits. Because there are things like were-tigers and were-hyenas and were-lions in other parts of the world. Really? Maybe you could be a were-rabbit.
A were-rabbit. Yeah, I'm just saying. I don't know. I guess if you knew you were a werewolf, I guess you could lock yourself up, but I don't know. I mean, again, it's some crazy shit. I don't know what I would do. I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah, it's, it makes you wonder. And then, so we go on. Now, people, werewolves, they're shapeshifters. You go from one form to another form. You're shifting shapes.
Shifting
That's
your
hard.
shape.
Yeah, that's hard to
Hence
say.
the word shape shifting.
So, and then it makes you wonder, when we talked about skinwalkers, they're shapeshifters. So, are skinwalkers werewolves, or are werewolves shapeshifters? Are they shaman? There's all these little kind of ins and outs. And we're going to talk about shapeshifters and skinwalkers when we talk about Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah, we'll get more into that. I think that it's all kind of tied together. Again, werewolves are one of those things that's kind of ambiguous because, not everybody believes in werewolves, right? And it's one of those things that Hollywood has sensationalized, and there's some people that truly do believe in werewolves, and it's some crazy shit. So, James, thank you. Any more on werewolves?
Well, real quick, there's a couple of stories we talked about. Let me give you an example of another one. There was a wealthy farmer in Germany, and they say he was a notorious werewolf. According to folklore, he ate many citizens of Bedburg, and that's one of my things, man. The thought of being cannibalized, that just freaks me out. I don't like that. So he's cornered by these hunters who claimed they saw him shift form. And this is one of the few stories or accounts where I read that they actually had eyewitness to someone changing form. Okay, so now this is interesting. You just see someone changing form, you gotta know something's up. So of course they have to question him using what kind of techniques? Torture.
Say it again.
Torture.
Oh, of course, because isn't that how you get people to confess?
So that's it. But it's like, if you just saw this dude change, why would you need him to confess? But they tortured him just in case. And so, yeah, he, confessed to killing men, women, animals, and eating them. Okay? And he said the ability for him to change was due to a belt that he had found.
So his was a belt.
His was a belt. And unfortunately, the belt was never found.
Interesting.
But so it's just interesting, like, it's not only, remember how we talked about the witches were usually poor single women, things, this guy was a wealthy farmer, and it's interesting that he was accused of something like this.
Interesting.
So, but that's just one of a gazillion stories out there, you guys, about werewolves. Look it up. There's also the hypotrichosis, which is it's a genetic disorder that has excessive hair growth all over your body. So you see these people who have hair on their face and literally on the palms of their hands, and so if you may have seen someone, let's say, 500 years ago, 600 years ago, who had hypotrichosis, you would think they were a werewolf because they look like.
Yeah. That is true. That is true.
So just some things out there, think about. Lots of things we can talk about. I want to go into Dogman further down the road, and we'll talk about skinwalkers. So I hope that just whets your appetite.
Cool. So we are going to take a quick break and pay some bills, and then we're going to come back for our next segment, which is going to be Magic Rituals.
Right on.
If you haven't heard about Anchor, let me tell you, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free, and free's always good. There's these really great creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. And then Anchor will take your podcast and distribute it for you. so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need in one place to make a podcast. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It's everything you need to make a podcast. All right, so Magic Rituals is going to be brought to you by Bright-Headed Publishing LLC. They are their website is www.brightheadedpublishing or bright-headedpublishing.com. Their goal is to help others reach their dream of being published and being a published author. They are actually the publisher of both of my books, which are available on Amazon. Just one more shameless plug: ebook and paperback available on Amazon. They are on Instagram at BHPLCC, and I am going right into it. So, in keeping with Halloween, I thought I would do magic because I think magic is just really cool, right?
It's crazy.
Magic is crazy, and the thing about magic is it's all through our culture. Obviously, we're all fascinated with it. Hence, like again, movies, Harry Potter, all that, wizards, witches, all that stuff. People love Harry Potter. Whether you like Harry Potter or not.
I don't like Harry Potter.
I didn't like it either, but people love that shit.
I know, okay? And that's crazy shit right there.
And so, I think, just everybody's fascinated with magic. So I thought I would do like magic rituals. So what is magic? So magic can be an incantation or a spell, a charm. It's a formula that triggers a magical effect, either on a person or an object. It can be spoken, it can be sung, it can be chanted, and it can be performed with some elaborate ceremonial ritual or like a prayer. And it is said in the world of magic that incantations are said to be performed by wizards, witches, and fairies. Okay, so a lot of the written records, historical magic spells were obliterated in many cultures with the success of monotheistic religions such as Islam, Judaism, and Christianity, which have labeled magic to be immoral and then associated it with evil. But magic was not always thought to be evil, and magic was widely accepted throughout the world. Magic dates back to the beginning of time and has a lot to do with beliefs. And so, we can go back to the ancient Greeks and Romans. And actually, back in their day, they used spells to bind people up to have different outcomes, either at a sporting event or a personal affair like marriage or revenge, or even business, right? So they would use spells and amulets to put things in their favor. And a lot of times these binding spells would involve parties like, they're gods or people, and they were always connected with either an action or a result. So you could use a binding spell to ensure a happy marriage, or you could use one to ensure like you won at a gladiator match. And sometimes, you would pay somebody to give you a string of powerful words, and they would put them in amulets, and you would carry that amulet with you until the spell came to pass.
Like a charm bracelet?
Yes, like a charm bracelet. So you would, and they have found lots of these amulets in Greek and Roman burial sites. And the amulets were decorative, but the inside of the amulet was like life and death. These people believed that these binding spells would help, right? And spells weren't just written down. I mean, they weren't just spoken; they were written down. They found some amulets in Syria, and they had spells written on them as well, and they were also designed to carry spells. Other ancient cultures like Egyptians, right? They also used amulets, but more for symbolism, where Greeks and Romans, those amulets were designed to carry spells themselves. And they found, in even as late as 2011, archaeologists uncovered an amulet in Cyprus that was engraved with a spell. And in 2008, archaeologists in Switzerland found a gold scroll and in a silver amulet that looked real decorative, but the inside of the contents was definitely like a binding spell. So it's just kind of interesting to me how spells and amulets go all the way back, and how back in the day it was widely accepted, right? Then if we even, let's jump over to like Asia. So magic and spells and ceremonial rituals is very prevalent in Chinese life and culture. It's both popular in religion, like in Buddhism or Taoism, and it's also very true in Korea and Japan as well. And so those religions have always what am I trying to say? Have always used magic, have always had magical lore,
right? And it's
within their religions, right? It's not negative with them at all, right? And it's tied to your religion and your ancestors, and it's a big part of your life, right? So magic is widely accepted in that culture. So when I was looking at different types of magic, ceremonial magic is where there's going to be some type of elaborate and complex things that go down. You're going to need tools and all these things, a ceremony to make whatever you're trying to do happen. And a lot of people who practice magic will have what's called a grimoire. And a grimoire is a book of spells. And basically, it's a textbook of magic. And it has instructions how to create like amulets and how to do spells and charms and how to summon and evoke supernatural entities such as angels or spirits or deities or even demons. Even in many cases, the books themselves are to be, hold magical powers. And so, and there are other, and throughout cultures, several cultures, there are other sacred texts that are believed to have magical powers or supernatural properties, such as the Bible, but they are not known as grimoires. Grimoires are specifically used to teach magic, right?
Grimoires?
Grimoires. It's spelled Grimoires, but it's pronounced grimoire.
Can I find that on Amazon?
You actually could. You probably could if you Googled it. Yes, I'm pretty sure you could.
That's
crazy. It's just, if you wanted to learn how to do magic, you can type it in, go to YouTube. There's all types of people who are willing to teach you magic. You don't have to be a Wiccan or necessarily a wizard to do magic, James. If you wanted to do magic, you first and foremost, you would have to believe that the magic is true and that it will happen.
Yeah, power of belief.
So a lot of magic is all about belief.
Hey, but all kidding aside, you know what? If you're going to get into this stuff, you have to understand what you're getting into, because it isn't all fun and games. You have to be careful.
That's funny that you say that, because that segues into the next part of magic, and that is the types of magic, James. Thank you. So the first type is white magic. And white magic is referred to as the use of supernatural powers for the magic for selfless purposes, right? So practitioners of white magic have known to have practiced their magic through healing or blessings or charms or prayers or songs. Um, it is magic that is given to those who use their ability to help others, right? And so it's also referred to as natural magic as well. And it is the exact opposite of black magic. So those that practice white magic are saying to practice magic for the good of others, and they are not using it for selfless or bad situations, right? So
right on.
Then there is actually, when I was doing my research on white magic, early origins of white magic can be traced back to cunning folk. And I didn't know what cunning folk. I'm like, what are cunning folk?
They're sneaky.
You're so smart, James. But cunning folk were semi-professional and professional practitioners of magic in Britain, and they were active from the medieval period through the early 20th century.
Now, quick question: would they be considered druids?
No, I don't think they were called them druids. They were just a type of people in Britain who practiced magic.
All right.
Right? And they learned their magic through the study of what? What did we just learn? What's your book of instructions called?
The Grimoire?
Right. So cunning folk would learn their magic through studies of grimoires. Right? So that's white magic. Then there's gray magic, and I didn't even know there was such a thing as gray magic. I had never heard of gray magic, but there is such a thing as gray magic or neutral magic. And it is said that gray magic is not performed for any specific or for any beneficial reasons, but it is also not focused toward complete hostile practices. So it falls in between white and black magic. And you had asked me before, James, like, why would you want to do gray magic? Yeah. I don't know. But you had said there's some dude, what's his name?
Oh, Gandalf in Lord of the Rings.
Gandalf the Grey?
And he doesn't really do anything.
Yeah, so maybe that, but is Gandalf magic?
Yeah, he's a wizard.
See? So he practices gray magic. Now you know. And then, lastly, there is black magic. And black magic is traditionally referred to the use of supernatural powers for magic or evil and selfish purposes. It is the exact opposite or counterpart of white magic. And it is said to be, it is used sometimes with reckless intent and to harm others. And so, those who practice black magic practice it with the, design to have the outcomes benefit the practitioner.
Right.
And so that is black magic. So those are the three types of magic, right? So when you look at ceremonial magic, these are the things that you do or the types of ceremonies that you would have, for magic. And so I was like, well, what types of ceremonial magic are there? Right? And so I looked some up, and the first one I found was sex magic.
Woohoo! Oh, sorry.
So sex magic is any type of sexual activity that is used in magical or religious or spiritual pursuits. So it is said that using sexual arousal or orgasm with visualization of the desired result, that energy is so potent that it can transform your reality.
Well, there are a lot of teenage boys who will agree with that.
So even again in movies, when you've seen sometimes, these ceremonies in these, movies where they're doing magic or whatever, sometimes they've used sex. So, and there's another, I actually read a book once before, a long time ago, by Napoleon Hill, and he talked about manifesting and using the power of sex to help you manifest. So I just thought that was pretty interesting. So
well,
it's a real...
Aleister Crowley, who was a well-known Satanist in London, England, a lot of his ceremonies had sex involved, and they were like
very powerful.
They were trying to conjure demons and stuff. So yeah,
very powerful. The other one is the magic circle. So the magic circle is a space that's marked, right? And usually it's, done with branches, or, it's some type of, it's a branch of ritual magic. And usually you can make a circle. You can either physically make the circle or you can visualize the circle. And within this circle is where, you would do your spells, and that's where the power is held. You're also protected within this magic circle.
Do not leave the circle.
Right, do not leave the magic circle. And then the last one that I thought I would talk about was candle magic. And candle magic is driven by the element of fire. And why? Because fire changes everything that it interacts with. So it's really known as transformational energy. And, when you burn candles, you are harnessing that energy and using that energy to help whatever spell you're trying to do. Based on the color of the candle, you can, they represent different things.
Right. Now, real quick, I don't mean to interrupt you, but my family, when I was younger, if they wanted someone to get better, let's say if they were sick, or you wanted a job or something, there's candles you buy that have different saints on them. And then they would burn these candles at night to help whatever they were trying to do. And then once the candle burned out, you were supposed to put it in the container in a dark place, and then whatever you wanted would come true. So that's interesting that we talk about power. That wasn't so much the color, but the particular saint.
Yeah, but guess what? That's a ritual, right? That's some type of ritual that they perform to make something happen. So candle, based on the color, based on what you want. So, people burn white candles for peace and serenity, peace and sometimes insight. Yep. They burn black for psychic protection. Green helps you bring ideas to life, amplifies prosperity. So a lot of times people that are doing candle magic that want money will burn green candles.
Makes sense. Money, green, cash, green.
Right. Blue connects you to your chakras and healing. Yellow enhances your networking and social skills. It may help you with new career opportunities.
What about podcasts?
That might. So like when we're doing our podcast, we would both have yellow candles lit the whole time, right? And they say that for career opportunities and to enhance your career, you should keep a yellow candle burning on your desk. Red encourages...
Not at my work. I don't want a candle on my...
Well, I don't think you can at your work. Yeah.
But continue.
Red encourages love and sex and passion.
Okay, so I need a red, a yellow, and a blue, and a green.
Well, wait, there's one more. And pink. Pink is for romance. And so if you want romance, you put place a pink, well, I shouldn't say romance, but love, I should say. Place a pink candle by your home's doorway to welcome in love.
All right, so I need a pink, a red, a yellow, a blue, and a green.
There you go. And that is some of the tools that you can use. Other tools that you can use for magic that are popular is like an altar, right? So an altar is like your sacred space where you would perform your rituals or your incantations.
See my
Again, your altar. Yeah. So, I mean, it just, that's one of the things, a cauldron. Some people have brooms. There's all types of tools that you can use for magic. And the thing that really kind of, to me, makes magic crazy shit is that how much people believe in it and how much it still can't be proven by science. Not to saying that I don't think magic will ever be an exact science, but people believe that when they do these spells, it's another good one for magic, they say, are mirrors. And I had talked about magic mirrors to help banish curses, but mirrors are also one of the tools that are used in ceremonial magic.
Well, remember, it makes sense because we were talking about how they could be doorways.
Right, and incense as well. So smell.
I like it.
Smell can also enhance your magic ritual as well. So that is just, kind of
makes sense because, like, you think about all these, you see these things about these Tibetan temples, and they have all these incense
burning. Yeah. So that is one of the things that can heighten and help you with magic, as well as, but ultimately, no matter what, you can do all the magic spells that you want, but if you yourself, the practitioner, do not believe that what you are doing will truly happen and come true, then it's not going to work. So I'm not saying magic is real or fake. I'm saying that it's some crazy shit. I think it's fascinating. I think a lot of us are just, that's why we have so many movies and books and all this stuff about magic and witches and all, because it's just fascinating stuff to me. I love to talk about it. So that is what I brought you, is what I have on magic.
Right
and
on.
Guess what? We still have time for random bullshit.
Okay, what you got? Hit me.
So, this is my question. And I'm just going to throw this out there because I've thought about this before, and something triggered it today that made me think about it. So I thought I would save it for random bullshit. Okay, 2 questions, 2-part question. Number 1, have you ever fainted in your dream? Or should I say, can you faint in a dream? And if you do faint in your dream, is the dream over? Right? Because you're out. You fainted. So can the dream continue if you're asleep within the dream?
That's a good question.
So number 1, think about this. Have you ever fainted in your dream? I can say I've never fainted in a dream. Okay.
If you're having a dream where you're like seeing yourself, I think you could see yourself faint. I've never done it, but I think if you're having a dream, for everyone in their dreams, it's a POV, and you faint, I think the dream would be over.
Right. So that's what I think too. I'm thinking that if you're, as you say, POV, point of view, for those of us who don't know acronyms, James.
Sorry.
If you're having a dream, which most people, I would think all of us have dreams from our point of view, right? When I'm dreaming, I don't see myself. I see myself from my eyes, right? So if I faint in my dream, then I would think that the dream would be over. No?
I would agree with you, but I've had dreams where I've, been over, like an out of body experience, maybe, where I'm watching myself walk around, and I've had dreams, but not a lot.
And for those of us that have been with us, I actually did dreams, and what you just described is called what? Do you remember? What type of dreaming that is?
Oh, you didn't tell me there was going to be a test.
Yes. Well, it's a quiz. It's pop quiz.
Quiz. Okay, I failed. Well, I don't remember.
It's called lucid dreaming.
Lucid dreaming. My bad.
Lucid dreaming, and that's where you can control your dream.
Yeah, we
See
talked about. I
yourself
remember
in
now.
your dream. Yep, that's called. And a lot of people don't lucid dream. I don't think I ever have. I usually just see myself from my point of view. But I just wondered, if you fainted in a dream, is the dream over? And if you fainted in the dream, would you wake up?
Would you wake up in reality or in your dream state?
Well, okay, James, we just took it to another level. I was just thinking in reality, but yeah, if you fainted in your dream and you woke up, are you awake in your dream or you are awake in reality? And which is reality, the dream or the not dream? Maybe they're both dreams.
Well, then we get into a whole, Matrix and all that shit.
Oh, you see how that happens?
Oh my gosh! Okay, you triggered a memory. Okay, remember I told you I went on a road trip not too long ago?
Yes.
Okay, so we're driving and it's pretty windy. We're cruising and we're coming up on this crow. And this crow was literally just floating. The wind, it was so windy, he was just floating. He wasn't making any progress. He wasn't going backwards. He was just kind of hovering there. And I wish I would have been able to get my camera out and video, but it was one of those Matrix things because we're driving past this bird that's just hanging in the air.
He's not moving forward or nothing.
No, just because
like almost in. That's cool.
It was, and I wish I would have got it, but that was, that's one of those Matrix things.
Yeah, a little glitch in the Matrix. Well, James, we have come to the end of yet another episode 8. Next week. Yep, Ocho. Next week, we're going to have our guest, Dave. And so we will be putting something out on social media. So if you want to not necessarily ask him a psychic question, but ask him a question about him, like how he got started or his gift or something, he's going to be around for the whole hour. So it won't be James and me doing banter. It will actually be him. And he also does... I think he does like phone readings or whatever. So I think if you're interested, you would be able to utilize his services, and that will be coming up next week.
And it's going to be crazy. This dude is on.
Yeah, we're excited. So again, thank you everybody for listening to That's Some Crazy Shit.
Thank you.
I am Kelly.
And I am James, just one time.
And
hold on.
Don't you have a wait. Don't you have a tagline or something? Okay.
I'm sending this out to someone who recently passed away. Bond. James Bond.
Oh yeah, Sean Connery.
Yeah, all respects to Sean Connery. He will and has and always will be my 007.
Yeah, I like Sean Connery a lot. My favorite movie with him, and he did so many, but one of my favorite movies with him, like I told you the other day, was The Rock. I just liked him in that movie a lot. I mean, he did a lot of other great movies,
he did.
And he was a great Bond, but something about The Rock, I just really, really like Sean Connery. So yeah, absolutely.
And he did one that I really liked. It's called The Man Who Would Be King.
The Man Who Would Be King?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So shout out to Sean, and I'm James. Keep your minds open, people.
Yep. Until next time.
Ciao.